Hakon rode south for 7 days, through forests that remembered war, through villages that whispered his name like a ghost, through roads where men stepped aside without knowing why, because some men carry storms with them. And Hakon no longer looked like a man returning home. He looked like judgment. By the time the towers of King Harald's hall rose against the winter sky, the rumors had arrived before he did. The dead man was coming. The warrior they buried was riding home. Inside the great hall, Crown Prince Leif stood beside the throne. Older now, harder, but still carrying the same eyes of the boy who once swore blood mattered more than crowns. Their eyes met across the hall, and in that single moment, both brothers understood. Nothing would leave that room unchanged. King Harald sat high upon the throne, old but dangerous, wearing power like another layer of skin. He looked at Hakon, not surprised, smiling. "As I live," the king said, "the sea gives back what even Valhalla refused." Silence filled the hall. Hakon stepped forward. "No, you sent me north because you were afraid. Now I have returned so you can remember why." Even the fire seemed to listen. The nobles lowered their eyes. The guards tightened their grip. Leif said nothing, because truth is cruel, and once spoken, it cannot be buried again. Harald leaned forward. "Careful, Hakon. Men like you are useful in war, but dangerous in peace. You were never betrayed. You were managed." That landed harder than steel, because cruelty spoken calmly always does. The king smiled again. "I gave your father the same choice. Silence or death. He chose pride. You inherited his talent for bad decisions." Their mother gasped softly. Leif looked like someone had struck him. Hakon stood still. Too still, because rage is loud. Real hatred is quiet. The king spread his hands. "Look around you. These men do not want truth. They want comfort, food, warm halls, a crown that keeps winter outside their doors. I gave them that, and your brother understood." Now he looked at Leif. "Tell him why you stayed silent." The hall held its breath. Leif's hands trembled, because there are battles fought with swords, and others fought with shame. His voice broke. "Because I was afraid." He stepped forward. "I knew after, not before, but I knew. I knew what father died for. I knew what they did to you. And I said nothing, because mother would have died, because the guards obeyed him, because I was weak." Silence. Real silence. The kind that changes kingdoms. Their mother wept quietly. The nobles stared. The priests looked away. And for the first time in many years, King Harald looked old. Not powerful. Old. He rose from the throne. Anger first, then fear. "You ungrateful child. Everything I built, everything I protected." Leif turned to him. "No, everything you stole." Old Jarl Eirik stepped forward. Then another lord. Then another. And like winter ice finally breaking, the kingdom chose. Not the king. Truth. The guards hesitated, because men obey crowns, until they remember crowns are worn by men. Harald reached for power, but power had already left him. He looked at Hakon, and for the first time, the king was afraid. "You would kill your king?" Hakon drew his blade, not with rage, with certainty. He stood before the throne and answered, "No, I would bury the lie." Harald opened his mouth to speak again, but kings who build their thrones on fear rarely survive truth. Steel flashed, fast, clean, final, and when it ended, the hall was quiet. No cheers, no songs, only truth. King Harald lay beneath the throne he loved more than his own blood. Leif stood beside Hakon, not forgiven, but not lost. Some wounds do not heal. They simply stop bleeding. Outside, snow fell softly over the kingdom, as if the world itself wished to begin again. Leif looked at his brother. "What happens now?" Hakon looked toward the open doors, toward winter, toward tomorrow, and answered, "Now, we live with what we chose, far beyond the clouds." Odin smiled, because revenge is easy. Living after it, that is the hard part. And Hakon the Black, the man they buried, the warrior Valhalla refused, finally came home. The end. If you watched part 1 and part 2, subscribe for more powerful Viking stories and Norse legends. And tell me, did Hakon choose justice, or just a cleaner form of revenge?